Welcome. I'm Dr. Alex, one of the organizers of the 2026 Central Texas Parkinson Symposium. This presentation is one of 9 talks in a series created to inform, support, and empower individuals and families living with Parkinson's disease. You can watch these sessions in any order. Follow what feels most helpful to you. Links to the other talks, along with additional resources and ways to connect, are available in the description below.
All right, so again, I am Dr. Rhoden. You can call me Eric. I'm a little more informal with that title. So I have a doctorate, but I don't have much power because it's a clinical doctorate. That's just a bad medical joke. So we are talking about fitness today and how it is hard for a lot of people to understand what they should or should not do because there are so many versions of exercise out there. And what is good for Parkinson's, what is bad for Parkinson's, and then what if you have all these other limitations? So the goal today is to get you a little bit of a better understanding of how you can empower yourself and take charge of that, because the harsh truth of it is there's a lot of misinformation out there, and you can feel guilty that you're not maybe doing enough, and you actually may be doing a lot more than you give yourself credit for. So I kind of want to debunk quite a bit of that. If we can, actually I think I got the controller here. All right, I always like to give my why and a little bit about me. So I've been married for 17 years. That is my amazing wife, Erin, and my adorable son, he's 12, Mason. He loves theater and band, and we just nerd out all the time together. So that is why I do everything I do. Fun fact on the Parkinson's side, one of my closest friends' fathers was one of the very first DBS implants in the US back in the 90s. So have been around DBS and Parkinson's for quite some time. So types of exercise, it is overwhelming. That is not an extensive list. That is not all of them. That is just a large spectrum of what you read online, what you see in the research that could possibly help with your disease and modify the disease progression. As Dr. Armitage said, exercise and movement is the only proven way to slow or modify the disease. Out of all the different medications out there, all the different trials, the only one that has been proven time after time is exercise. Now the golden question is, what type of exercise? I've highlighted in red a few. So cycling, there's basically a device called a TheraCycle that some of you may have heard. It is a self-motorized bicycle that has helped with Parkinson's patients. That came about by a gentleman who used to be an avid cyclist. His buddy bought a tandem bike, told him to get on because he stopped biking because he was falling. Strapped him on that thing, they biked for 50 miles. He got off, and for the next 2 hours, he walked completely normal. And they were dumbfounded by it because he was the avid freezer, the shuffler. And so they developed that type. So cycling is an option. The beauty there, you could be on a real bicycle. You could be on a recumbent bike, the ones that sit down with a backrest, a little more comfortable. But you got to put in effort. Then we have yoga, right? Yoga has been very prominent in the research in the Parkinson's realm. It helps with your breathing. It helps with stretching, right? A lot of you probably deal with rigidity, that stiffness. And so the stretching of yoga has been very, very important through the eras of Parkinson's care. And then we have the high intensity, which was brought up by Dr. Butt earlier, what we call HIIT workouts, high intensity interval training. That is where you do a short bout of exercise that could be 10 seconds to 2 minutes, and then you rest for a certain period and you repeat that over and over and over again. We'll talk about that a little bit more, how that may not be the right choice for you, or you may not be capable of physically getting to that intensity to benefit from what the research says. And then we have boxing, which we have an amazing group, the Rock Steady, which is an international group. That's a non-contact boxing group. A little closer to Austin, you have a group called 413, or even some of your physical therapists or occupational therapists may do some boxing with you, which we're going to do some shadow boxing, a little more interactive here in a little bit. So this is a very, very large list, and you could try to do everything on it, and you would spend all day just doing this. it'd be your full-time job just exercising. But unfortunately, you're not professional athletes, so you don't get paid. And I don't know about you, but for me, I want all about efficiency and get it done and give me my best bang for my buck. So I just want to go over to that list kind of briefly there, highlight the ones that a lot of people have talked about in the research, and then we're going to get into kind of how to break that down a little bit more. So what does the actual research mean? I pulled these from Michael J. Fox and Parkinson Foundation last week. The best exercise is one you stick with and helps your symptoms the most. Vague, but specific. The Parkinson's Foundation, there is no exercise prescription that is right for every Parkinson's patient. So the golden question based on those statements, what does that mean? If there's no perfect protocol, then why is all this fixation on high intensity? Or why on yoga or tango? There's a great research article on tango dancing for a Parkinson's patient. I'm actually a huge fan of dancing. My wife was a ballerina for 20 years, so I do waltz with my patients prior. It's great dynamic balance training. It creates rhythm. So there's all these different things. So again, what do we do with that? Because if it's not specific, just like your symptoms are not the same as the next person, we have to be more personalized with how we do your exercise and how you think about doing your exercise. So I'm going to go over general recommendations, okay? These are general recommendations just from the wellness world. This is not necessarily Parkinson's specific, but guess what? You're not just a disease. You're a person. And so you have a normal body that has all these other systems. And so these are general recommendations that still apply to you. So aerobic training, AKA cardio. Now that can look like a bunch of different things. That could be swimming, that could be biking, that could be walking, that could be running, that could be sitting in a chair and marching up and down. Whatever gets your heart rate up and your breathing rate up, sustained over a particular period of time. I say particular because, again, depending on your level. Are you a prior triathlete and you can go for an hour straight? Good for you. Have you never exercised before and you could barely do 2 minutes? Good for you. It's just where you start and then where you go from there. Now, the general recommendations is 30 minutes, 3 to 5 times a week. That's a lot. If you've never done 30 minutes straight of exercise, cardio-wise, that would be trying to walk around this building probably 3 times, 4 times, straight, without stopping. Now, again, general recommendation. We're gonna go from there. We talk about breathing heavy, keeping your heart rate up. The caveat to that statement, anybody on a beta blocker or calcium channel blockers, cardiac monitoring, beta blockers block your heart rate from going up. So if you're basing everything just on a heart rate, you could have a false negative or positive there saying, oh, well, hey, my heart rate's at 95, but you're actually working out at 180 as far as your effort. So you gotta know what your meds do to your exercise. Those are conversations you should have with your cardiologist or your primary care or your internal medicine saying, hey, I wanna up my exercise, but I notice I'm on all these drugs. Are any of these gonna affect how I can exercise or what things I'm supposed to monitor so I know my intensity level? Then we can do anaerobic. That's the fancy term for resistance training. Push some weights around, move that weight. That can be literal weights or literal weight, your body weight, right? Getting up and down out of a chair, off the toilet can be a daunting task. Even just getting out of bed, rolling over and getting upright. If we've got a little extra weight, or even if we don't and we're just weak, it is hard. But guess what? If you do a few more reps of it, it does become easier with time. Flexibility, especially in this population, every stinking day. I always use the term of an escalator. If I am walking up an escalator backwards, I'm gonna keep right where I'm at unless I push really, really hard, then I can maybe make it a little further up. As soon as I stop, what happens? You go down. That's your flexibility within the Parkinson spectrum because you unfortunately have this thing called rigidity. So an average person that sits still for 30 minutes, we get a little tight. you get a lot tight. That's a very scientific term, right? And so it is harder for you to maintain your flexibility. So it has to be a daily choice. And then balance. We use it or we lose it on balance. It is one of the biggest factors. And as we know in the aging population, one of the leading causes of death is a fall. You have one fall and it increases your risk. And guess what? Once you have one, annoyingly, it's a bit of a domino effect where your risk of falling again has increased. Because not only has it affected you physically, it's affected you psychologically. You are scared. My grandmother-in-law, my wife's grandma, she did not use an assisted device till she was 92. She lived by herself until then. Why did she fall? She chased a lizard in her garage and she slipped on a puddle of water. She broke her arm. After that day, she lived for 5 more years and she never took a step without a walker. Could she? You bet. I could touch her finger like this with mine and we could walk for 30 minutes. But as soon as I let go of her, she was terrified and shut down. So there is a psychological component to that. That's why it's so important to do balance training, okay? That's obviously working with your coaches if you're doing personal trainers, or your physical therapists, occupational therapists, things like that. So those are the general overviews. Now, this is where I'm talking about making it fit you, that personalized aspect. Are you stiff all the time? Are you falling all the time? Are you tired all the time? Do you just feel weak? Like you can't get up, you can't lift, you can't pull, you can't walk far enough? Write out your list. What are my big physical complaints? And then put a hierarchy to them. Which one hits you the worst? And then which one doesn't bug you the most? You're like, yeah, okay, I'm a little stiff, but it doesn't really bother me. But man, my fatigue kicks my booty. Okay, that's how you prioritize your time. I love exercise, but I don't want to do exercise all day unless I get paid for it. But that being said, so if I have an hour of time to allocate and my biggest thing is that I'm falling, maybe 50% of that hour, I'm going to devote solely to balance training. And then I'll do 15 minutes of cardio, and then I'll do 15 minutes of stretching. So you see how you can individualize it based on what you need. So those are important concepts of it's hard to do it all. To try to check every single box. It's like going to grad school. For us, it was like, well, you're going to get an A's in every class. It's like, well, no, what test could you afford a B in and get an A in the other one? So you kind of have to keep them all balanced. It's like juggling balloons. Well, that other balloon falls down a lot more often, so I have to hit that more often. Your specific symptoms should dictate what your exercise plan looks like. Then, make it fit your ability level. So, that's my cheesy background of the puzzle because it fits into place. I know it's a little on nose, but I had to say it. So, are you wheelchair bound? Do you need an assisted device, a cane, a walker, an upright walker, a U-step, whatever 18,000 different assisted devices are out there now? Do you have a prior injury, a rotator cuff, radiculopathy from your back, a neck fusion? And then what's your cognitive status? Can you handle a complicated routine? I had a gentleman, he had Lewy body dementia, and I worked with him for 10 years. When we got to certain points, am I going to give him a 3-step command of, okay, step here, twist, bow, do this? No. He physically and cognitively cannot handle that at that point. So we would do 1-step commands. Push. I need, okay, what? I'd give him a dowel, a stick. Push me. All right, pull me. Twist me. Right? Simple commands where, yes, we want to complicate things, which we'll talk about those boosters in a minute. But if our cognitive status is the limiter of that, you have to adapt. You have to figure out ways that you can still induce a good workout without overcomplicating it. 1-step commands work wonders. And it's it's hard. You have to figure that out together, or again, with your PT, with your coach, however you're getting your exercise, or many of you, your spouses help you. So talking with them of, hey, if we're gonna sit down and do this banded workout, and you're like, okay, pull back, but make sure you squeeze your shoulder blades, and you give them too many cues. You know, it's the whole paralysis by analysis, where you give them so much because you want them to do it perfect, which is valid. You know what? If that guy's doing this and he's pulling it everywhere, I don't say anything, because he's moving that arm versus sitting in his chair for 9 hours straight before he gets moved into bed later that day. Any movement is better than no movement. So big one as far as thinking through those things. Now, my keys to success and what has been shown both in the research and anecdotally in my career, have help. Looking around in the room, your spouses, your family members, your friends, they care about you, they love you, they want you to succeed in any way possible, even if it's a small amount. Let them help you. That's a hard thing to do. It's a pride check. It's a humbling moment where you have to say, you know what? I can't do what I used to by myself. But if you look to your right or you look to your left, you know, before you guys go, you should thank them, because they've put a lot into helping you and loving you. That's my sentimental moment that I'm almost tear up for. Put in effort. Or another word that I like to say is intent. You have to be intentional with what you do. Excuse my language, but if you half-ass it, it's not going to yield a good result. So whatever you do, do it with anything you can. And even if it's 1 or 2 reps and you're like, I'm too tired now. Okay, rest, and then guess what? Try it again. You got to start somewhere. So don't be mad that you can't do 10 reps. If you can do 2 reps with true effort, then that is where you start. Staying consistent, huge component, right? I talked about the earlier slide. Daily stretching, daily balance training. If we want to get really nerdy for a moment, the physiology of exercise, weightlifting, pumping weights, getting that pump, getting those muscles big, 6 to 8 weeks of consistent work before we actually see changes in the muscle fibers. 6 to 8 weeks straight. Not 2 or 3 weeks where you're like, well, I'm not seeing any change. Keep going. And then, even worse, aerobic, the fatigue aspect, right? Our change of these mitochondria, which are the energy factories in our system, they're dysfunctional in the Parkinson's world. So if we can try to create new ones or try to make those ones work a little bit better, guess what? More like 10 to 16 weeks to make that change. So that cardio training, that aerobic training, to actually see those changes in even lung capacity, right? That ability to breathe more efficiently can take that long. That's why marathon training, fun fact, is 16 weeks long, because they build through that physiological change. Y'all are athletes. You're athletes in your life, right? Every athlete wants to perform at their best. I know I want to perform in my life at my best. And so you can take anything that an athlete does in their training, and it applies to you. So they work hard that way. Another big one is fuel. This can be both medication and actual food. How many times I will have patients, I used to work in some of the rock study groups where I would teach a class intermittently. They come in, they're like, oh, I'm really lightheaded, which is a common side effect of meds. And I'm like, did you eat anything today? And it's 11 a.m. and they're like, well, I had coffee. Eating certain foods can help with blood pressure, in particular carbohydrates. So having those examples where you have to play with your food. I'm still an athlete. I did a race on Thursday of this week. And for me, I did not do as well on this race. And I was bummed, but I had a lot of travel that I was doing those 2 days prior. And I wasn't sleeping in my normal bed. I was sleeping in a hotel. And so my performance was affected. That's one day. We have to do this every day, right? So fueling is a really, really important thing. Medication, that's a conversation for you and your movement disorder doctor, your general neurologist, even your primary care, depending on who's managing those meds. I have two perfect examples. They're polar opposites, two sides of the coin. I have one gentleman, he would work out with me for an hour, and his tremor was 10 times worse afterwards. He got fatigue-induced tremor. So his meds, he'd walk in the door and he was cool as a cucumber. And he'd walk out and he's like, man, Eric, that was a great workout. And he's shaking. I'm like, you sure that was a good workout? And then you have that other side of the coin where I have a patient coming in shaking, and they do that workout and they're like, oh, thank you. Well, based on that reaction, you may want to talk to your doctor. If you're the fatiguing person that goes out of that workout feeling like garbage, maybe you need a booster in that med pre-workout. I remember I had a lady, she used to present, still she was working early onset. She'd take a half dose of carbidopa before she gave a presentation. Because every time she gave a presentation afterwards, her fine motor skills tanked and she couldn't type on her keyboard anymore. So took that half dose and it leveled her out. So those, again, are those individual conversations you should be having with your doctor. And then have fun with it when you can. I say when you can, because some people just don't like to exercise, right? And so, whether it's a dance class, whether you're Zumbaing, you're rock steadying, you're climbing, you're punching something, you're drumming, whatever it is that might bring you a little bit of joy with it, guess what joy does? It turns on dopamine when you feel good. So now you got an added natural boost to that. So if you're just miserable the whole time, to go back to the other one, you're not going to stay consistent. If you hate it, you're not going to put in a lot of effort. So those are kind of my keys to success through the process of figuring out what is the best exercise for you. And then I have what we call boosters. I'm going to touch on these, and then we are going to actually interact here at the end, because I know you all have been sitting for a while. And if I'm preaching about movement, you darn well we're going to actually move here at the end, okay? So I like to call these boosters, and these are my cheesy pictures that I found online. That is not my son. So, mouth, speaking, singing. You can do this while you're exercising. We just heard the other group. They were counting out loud earlier, right? You could do letters, you could do numbers, you could tell a story, but while you're doing a particular motion, add the speech component. We know hypophonia, right, which is the fancy science word for low speech, which tends to plague the Parkinson's population. Well, going back to that prior slide, that effort. I have to project. What also happens when you talk? You breathe. And what a lot of people stop doing when they're exercising? Breathing properly. So counting through something or talking while you're doing it is a great way to guarantee you're breathing well. Eyes. Dr. Armitage and I were just talking about this a couple months ago. The vestibular system. We call that the inner ear. That's a term you probably have heard of. Somebody said they got vertigo before, or that dizziness. This is a big component and an underrated booster that a lot of people forget about. So our eyes, we move around, right? We can look this way, we can look that way. How are our eyes moving? They move by muscles. What does this disease affect? Our muscles. So do you think your eye tracking ability is affected? You betcha. So doing eye exercises while doing something can be quite challenging, whether that's standing still and just purely looking side to side. If you've gone to therapy, they probably have done that with you. Or tracking an object with your eyes. It can be overwhelming. I call it the Bed Bath & Beyond syndrome. That's a coin phrase that I just made up. But you walk in and it's overwhelming. There's too much visual input and your body doesn't know what to do with it. Well, if you train your eyes, which then mediate to your brain, it is easier to take that information in. So a lot of people, eventually you avoid crowds. Not only because you're worried about falling or getting bumped into, but it's so much input that the brain can't manage it, and then it gets in a hiccup. So it's an important aspect. Ears, hearing things, listening to things. and then trying to possibly repeat them back. So this goes hand in hand with the next one. Brain, adding a cognitive task. Executive function falters at some point within the disease. It varies how much, but dopamine is a key component within your executive function. That's high-level thinking. So that's when you're talking about memory. That's when you're talking about abstract thoughts, spatial reasoning, things like that. So we'll kind of do some examples here in a minute of what that looks like, where you add that cognitive load. But again, to talk back to one of my slides, if your cognitive level is too low and then you try to load that brain up too much, they're going to falter with the actual physical thing. So again, that goes back to the individuality. So it's like, yes, we want to throw all the boosters, right? It's like, take every supplement, it's good for you. Not always. More is not always best. Sometimes it is, but not always. And that's what we got to figure out together. It's a journey. All right, application. I think I have a volunteer somewhere. There she is. All right, so we are going to do these all together, but we're going to have a visual while we're doing it. So this is Rhoda. Give everybody a round of applause for Rhoda, everyone. All right, if you don't know your neighbor, you're going to get to know them because a few of these are partner drills. If you don't have a partner, raise your hand because we have got a few volunteers throughout that will help you, okay? So partner up for this. Okay, so our first ones, these are about core activation. A very vague term that we use, basically from our breast tissue down to our thigh is your general core region. Everybody generally thinks of it just as our abdomen. That's wrong. So we are trying to activate those areas because that area helps us with our balance and our posture, which again, cardinal sin of the Parkinson's world, we get that slumpy posture. We don't like that. So first one, hands down, my favorite drill. I do this in my workouts all the time in varying shapes and forms. I'm going to show you the version that takes a friend. So you are going to be 90 degrees to the person. The beauty is you have these nice swivel chairs. So if I was sitting, I would be like this to my partner. So everybody set up that way into that position. You can also face each other. That will also work as well. That's fine. And you're going to want your feet flat on the ground. So if you need to scoot your tushy forward, scoot it. All right, so anti-rotation, or the fancy term we call Palloff press, is a variation of what we're going to do. So person that is doing the exercise, you are going to take your hands, interlace them like so, like you're doing your bedtime prayers, and you're going to put them straight out in front of you. Partner, you're going to follow along with me. So person interlaced, you are a statue. Do not let your partner move you. Version 1. Partner, you're going to raise your hand, and then you are going to vary where you are pushing on those hands, and you are going to try to move them. I don't care which way you do it, but push for about 1 to 2 seconds, and person that is actually doing it, you're going to feel your muscles tense up. You're going to feel your core activate. So that is version 1. Think about doing that for about 30 seconds. It is tiring, and guess what? Your partner also gets a workout. I want you to flip, so if you haven't done it yet, go ahead and switch. So person doing it, now make the other person feel it, right? This isn't a one-way street. So again, switch, and then push, push. You can vary the speed. You can be real mean, but remember, they'll be mean back to you. All right, very good. Now you're going to switch back again. Version 2, a little more challenging because you saw my hand coming, right? Rhoda knew, oh, I got to force upward. We call that an anticipated event. I'm getting ready to get out of the chair. I know what's coming. I have to shift. So that's an anticipated moment. But most of life, we have reactive moments, unpredicted events. My favorite, so hands go out again. Her arms are getting tired. You're going to put your hand right on top. Now it's a joystick. So she's not going to be allowed to move, and I'm going to randomly try to move her, and she's got to try to stop me. It is much harder because you don't see it coming. And she's working hard. So try it a few times, and it's like, whoa, why is this so much harder? But you get bumped into. You step funny on an uneven surface, and your body's got to correct itself. This is a great drill to help with that. And guess what? If you're higher functioning, trying this standing, even more so. So if you haven't yet, switch. Have the other person feel that. And it is quite challenging. Like I said, one of my favorite drills. Guess what? If you are by yourself though, right? Hey, what if I don't have a partner? What if I live alone? You could use an elastic band. So if I was the elastic band for her, I would just be pulling one way. So that would be a band. Or if you go to a regular gym, the cable machines. Set yourself up perpendicular, and you can just hold, or if you really want to get fancy, you could go in and out. The closer you are to you, the easier it is. The further out, this is levers, physics, as I told my son. You actually do use physics in life, so fun fact. All right, our next one, the teeter-totter. This one, Rhoda's going to demonstrate. I will demonstrate a standing version. So we are literally going cheek to cheek. Now it's going to be a little harder in the spinny chair, so please be careful. Ideally, this would be on a more solid chair. But nonetheless, she's going to teeter, again, cheek to cheek. So we're getting obliques. As silly as it is, she's working balance while seated. Yes, you can do balance training when you're seated. When do you need to do that? How do you think you scoop forward in a chair? You nudge your booty forward, right? Standing, it's the same thing. We have a poor ability over time with this disease to regulate shifting right to left. Well, how do we think we walk? If I don't shift enough weight into my right foot, my left foot does not have enough time to move forward. So if I don't shift far enough, I am basically perpetually falling, which is a shuffling gait. So weight shifting side to side is a critical skill to practice. And a lot of people forget about doing it seated, and then you wonder why you can't move yourself off your bed, because you can't move your tushy. The last one, the twist and reach, okay? So simply crossing midline. So she is gonna reach, and then even try to go a little further, right? You're on your couch, you wanna get to the remote, and then you end up falling off because you haven't done that. You could add speed to this. You could put cones out. Again, if I'm standing, same concept, varying my feet. I can reach both ways. This is a double dipper, so we're getting our rotational strength here, but we're also working on flexibility. That thoracic area where your ribs are is one of the #1 areas that tightens up on us. So it helps with that rotation ability. You want to talk about good bed mobility. You gotta be able to twist, right? If I try to turn over like a plank of wood, that's really, really difficult. Guess what? A lot of you try to. But if I get a little bit more wiggly, it really, really does help. So those are the more strength aspects. Now, you're not done yet. I only gave her an idea of what the first ones were. So now we're gonna switch over to the cardio ones, okay? So you are gonna breathe a little heavy. We're gonna wake you up right before lunch. It'll be good. We'll burn a couple calories, right? So our first version, I want you to pull back away from the table. That way you don't bang your knees. So slide back a little bit. But again, make sure your feet are flat on the floor. So our first one, we're gonna do a march progression. I'm gonna coach you through this while Rhoda is demonstrating. So version 1, right foot. Everybody raise your right hand. So just so we know which right. Okay, good. Just making sure. All right, so we're just gonna stomp up and down with our right foot. Again, you could do this standing as well. It's like pumping those old air mattresses up, right? We're gonna go a nice, easy, rhythmic pace for now. For now. Now, I want you to keep the same pace, but raise it higher. but try to keep the same beat. Not easy. Now, make it really small and try to keep the same beat. We just added a cognitive load, right? The tempo. Not easy. You're also listening, so we added the ears. All right, relax that one. Let's go to lefty. Again, get a nice up and down. We'll get that tempo again. Now we're going to go higher, but keep my same tempo. So now we're changing that amplitude, right? The height of it. Now go the baby ones, the real small ones, but again, keep my tempo. Good. So again, we just did a small amount of cardio. That was about 15 seconds. And guess what? Some of you might be a little out of breath. And your heart rate might be a little up. Good job. That's not a, oh my gosh, I'm so out of shape. No, that is a moment of accomplishment. Don't always put it in a negative context, right? We're not 18 anymore. I can't go and run a marathon and then go walk up the stairs the next day like I did at 18. I'm hobbling up. It's okay. Be happy with the small successes. All right, now, a little more challenging. We're gonna rev that heart rate up a little bit more, alternating. So again, we're going to go right, left, go to my beat. So now we're going crossbody, right? Our brains are firing one side to the other, those motor pathways. Now get a little bigger. And now go small. Now go back to regular. And now I want you to speed up. Get a little faster. Now get faster. Faster. Now all out as hard as you can, as fast as you can. Go, 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 go. I can't snap that fast. Go, 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 and rest. You just did high intensity interval training, right? That wasn't overwhelming, was it? But when you see that term, oh my gosh, I gotta go do a CrossFit workout. No, you just did one. Again, it doesn't have to be this overwhelming thing. Okay, so that was the legs, but guess what? We have two arms too. So we're gonna do clapping, okay? Attempting to keep on rhythm. So we're just gonna be here to start. Just and then we're gonna get a little bigger with our clap. So try to get past your shoulder blades with your hands, or past your shoulders. Now even harder, going all the way out. It's a lot harder. All right, now bring it back in. Now clap to your left shoulder. Ooh, that's kind of weird. Now clap to your right shoulder. Now clap overhead. Now clap down below. Now go back to the middle. Now speed up. More. More. All out. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Good. You just did an upper body cardio workout, right? And then, happy. Exactly. We got smiles around, right? Because guess what? You just accomplished something. You just released dopamine. It is that simple. We just overcomplicate it because guess what? We Google search everything and then there's 80,000 options on there and it's overwhelming. All right, the last one on this one, punching, right? Our rock steady, the boxing groups in town. Why? Because again, we get that cross body motion just like the last one. It's rhythmic. We can add cognitive components to it. I'm not gonna go overkill on this one because there's 18 different punching combos we can do. We're not gonna get that complicated, okay? So first one, dukes are up. And I want them up for a reason. So not only to protect yourself, because we're fighters right now, but also when your arms are higher up, guess what happens to my posture? It's up. Versus if they're down here, I'm slumpy. That doesn't look like a good fighter. I'm gonna knock that guy out, right? This one, a little more intimidating. So, hands are up, and guess what? Just holding them there, some of you, your arms might be burning already, okay? So, we are going to punch. Notice my hand didn't just do this. It rotated and then comes back. So, to add a complicated mix, palms face you. And I'm purposely doing this for the Parkinson's world because guess what? Turning over, supination, declines in this disease. Well, I really like soup in the cold days. And if I can't do this, I'm gonna be pissed. Or brushing your hair, baking, whatever you enjoy, fine motor to be able to manipulate, a screwdriver, brushing your teeth. So those are skills you need. So you can add this in, right? This is a quote unquote booster where you add that. So palms facing, and then when we punch out, I want them facing away. So we're gonna do the left hand, we're gonna go really slow, 5 in a row. Twist, feel that. And you might feel even a stretch just by doing that. That's 2, let's do another one. That's 3, one more, 4, I lied, we got one more after that, and 5. Same exact thing with the right, okay? Again, palms facing, palm out, 1. We got 2. We got 3. We got 4. And we got 5. Again, nice easy warm up. So again, let's add that complication of the cardio. So again, dukes are up. We're gonna go left, right, left, right. We're gonna just keep punching, okay? We're gonna get a nice rhythm and then we're gonna build just like we did before, okay? So again, everything up. We're gonna start with our left, so left, right, left, right. Try to follow along. I'm not gonna be able to talk that fast, so you're just gonna have to watch me. I'll cue you when we speed up. It's hard to do. All right, let's speed up a little bit, get a little rhythm to it. You need a little bob if you want, right? Get into the motion. We need the eye of the tiger going right now. A little rocky. All right, speed it up a little more. Add a little more. But again, as you get faster, don't forget to reach all the way, right? As we get speedy, we end up doing this. So make sure you keep the full range of motion. Faster, faster. All right, all out as fast as you can. Go, 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 and rest. Again, a cardio workout. So between those 3, you got about 3 minutes of cardio in. Well, do that a few times a day. You just got your cardio fix. And it was kind of fun. And you actually put boxing gloves on, then you can do that as well, right? All right, and then the last one, and then we'll make sure we have time for food. We got plenty of time, so we'll have some time for questions at the end. Flexibility. Again, we talked about that in the earlier slide. Daily choices of flexibility, going back to the escalator analogy. You got to stretch. That doesn't mean you got to do yoga. That doesn't mean you have to stay in a pose for X amount of time. I love more what we call active stretching or dynamic stretching versus just sitting still with the stretch, but that's a lecture for a different day. So we're gonna just do 3 that I think are very, very important for a few different reasons. So the sun salutation, which again, she's gonna demonstrate seated, I'm gonna demonstrate standing, is a great one for your posture, your shoulder mobility, your thoracic mobility, your breathing, okay? Again, if you have a shoulder injury, adjust accordingly. If you have neck issues, again, adjust accordingly. So I'll kind of demonstrate and explain that as we go. So again, we're going back to our bedtime prayers here. We are gonna try to reach up as high as we can, and then we are gonna come out. Notice my palms. I'm pushing them out as we go down. So with the breathing, breathe in as you reach up for the sky, and then blow out as you go down. Again, breathe in as you go to the sky, and out as you go down. If able, try to lift your head with it. Look at your hands when they're at the peak. That will bring your head and your chest up as you do it. I want you to give me 3 more. Big, don't forget to breathe, and exhale. Big breath in. And exhale. One more for good measure. Very good. All right. Well done. Again, flexibility, you just got a whole upper body stretching routine and you just got your posture a little more upright. You probably feel a little more freedom there just by doing 5 of those. Well, think about doing 10 of those in the morning when you first get up, maybe 10 after lunch. Like, make it when your meals are or when your meds are. That way it's not, oh, I got to spend 40 minutes stretching. It just integrates into your routine where it's like, okay, pop my pills and I do 10 salutations. It can be that easy. So just mix it up based on what you like to do. Then we got the figure 4 stretch or piriformis stretch, right? AKA booty stretch. We sit on our butts way too much, right? We unfortunately have become a sedentary society for the most part. This is soapboxing for a minute, but that's agricultural, there's now industry and now our tech, but we sit way more than we used to. So guess what? That booty gets tight. That can lead to sciatica, that can lead to low back issues. It is not a good thing. So we need to make sure that those hips stay flexible. If they're not flexible enough, you can't sit on a toilet. You can't bend down to tie your shoes. It's not just from the back, it's a whole kinetic chain, and that's a big area. And if we sit on it, eventually we get butt amnesia. Your butt forgets how to work, which sounds really, really silly, but guess what? If I clench my cheeks, don't look, I get upright. Well, if my butt forgot what to do, I get slumpy. Right? So our booty is one of the main trunk extensors of our body. Well, if we're sitting on it all the time, it forgets to lift the trunk. So stimulating it in some way, that doesn't mean slap your spouse's booty all the time, okay? Not that type of stimulation. So piriformis stretch. It can be done in a bunch of different positions. She's going to demonstrate the seated one. You can also do this laying on your back. If you're feeling really adventurous and you want to do balance, you can even do this standing. So you're going to take one foot and you're going to put it right over the top of the other. Sorry, over the knee. Then you're going to try to lean forward. Now, I'm just going to give you that basic cue of trying to lean forward. Some of you are like, oh, I feel it already. Some of you bend forward and you're like, I don't feel anything. So I'm going to re-cue you. So watch me. So we have that leg crossed over. I can bend, watch my trunk. I can do this, and I feel nothing. If I keep my posture, now think about from your hips. Tilt your hips forward, and keeping your posture, all of a sudden it's like, oh, that's as far as I can go now. Ooh, do I feel it? So that subtle cue change, right? I have a very flexible back, so I'm really good at cheating. I can touch my toes and not feel my hamstrings at all. I'm a cheater. But if I truly move my hips, I'm like, ooh, those are a little tighter than I thought. So our bodies will always find a way around, whether it is right or wrong. So stretching, always a question I get on a tangent is, how long should I stretch? The teacher answer is, it depends. And what I mean by that is, if I am stretching before activity, meaning exercise or a walk or something, you don't want to be stretching too long. I generally recommend don't hold a pose more than 15 seconds. Again, that is before exercise. We call that more of a active or dynamic stretch. So if I was doing this one, I might move in and out of it 5 times, and then I might go about my exercise. But if I'm at the end of the day or I'm just allocating time to stretch and be flexible, hate to tell you, but one of the research articles they talked about is anybody above 50, you should be holding a pose if you want to improve your flexibility for a minute or more. That is a long time. It is really long. So again, start somewhere. Maybe you only can hold it for 10 seconds and then you get a spasm, a cramp. Okay, then hold it for 8 before you get the cramp, and then do that for a week or 2 and then see, well, Could I get 12 seconds the next time? You can work your way into it, right? But if we're going for that really long flexibility to actually make a change, so for my patients that deal with dystonia, right, which is that kind of contraction, the risk there, if you don't stretch those long and consistently, is that muscle will shorten and it'll get stuck that way. And then you won't be able to move it at all. So that is the importance if you're dealing with that dystonia side of the disease. You do need to have these longer stretches. And then the last one, we have our calf stretch. Now, classically, everybody knows the calf stretches where I'm against the wall, and okay, oh, that feels really good. And that's true, but you can do it seated as well. It's not gonna be quite as effective. You have to be very careful on these rolly chairs. But if Rhoda is gonna scoot forward, and then she is gonna tuck her foot back until her heel just comes off the ground, right about there. So she's gonna slide her foot. She's gonna do a little Michael Jackson until her heel is just a little bit off. I'm gonna come up here so you can see it. And then while she's sitting, she's gonna lean into that thigh, and you might feel a little bit of a stretch through your calf. Now, some of you might be a little more flexible there, and that's okay. Calf flexibility is another key component of our walking cycle, our gait cycle. Another random little research fact, one of the first areas of motor discoordination occurs in the calf and feet in the Parkinson's world. So when they look at all the EMGs of muscles working and firing at the right times, your calf and feet actually show up a lot earlier than anything else. So taking care of your feet, just like diabetics, is a really important thing. And guess what? If I'm so stiff that it's like I'm stuck in boots all the time, I'm gonna walk around like this. And you know there's a few of you in here that do that because they're so stiff and they're not able to move. So if I can't get to this position, which is terminal stance, how am I ever supposed to walk, quote unquote, normal? If you've ever tried to walk upstairs or downstairs in boots, it's really hard. And so talk about fatiguing. So those were great examples of flexibility, cardio, strength. Let's give a round of applause for Rhoda. So again, I just wanted to tease some examples here, right? It has to be individual. You have to realize what are your big problems and rank them. And that allows you to allocate your time accordingly. I know I was vaguely specific, but I did that on purpose because again, your workout versus your workout versus your workout are not gonna look the same because your symptoms versus yours are not the same. This is an annoyingly boutique disease that affects everybody individually. Therefore, your effort in exercise has to be individual and specified to you. That is why you work with good healthcare providers, such as PTs, such as speech, such as OT, personal trainers, your MDs, to understand what affects you and what can you do to optimize your well-being, right? Don't get fixated on what others are doing, how they can exercise longer than you or lift more weights than you. That is the number one way to fail at exercise. The only person you should compete against is yourself. What did I do the day before? What did I do the year before, the month before? Can I get a little bit more out of it? And to put a little bit of a grim review on this disease is progressive. So if I don't get worse in 6 months, if I can still do 10 squats in a row from January, and then I can do 10 squats in June before stopping, guess what? You slowed the disease. High five yourself, give yourself a pat on the back, because you are stopping progression of something. That is a bigger deal than, we always want to get better, right? But if I can halt things, that's even more important. So we get fixated on that, but the reality is we want to slow it, or if anytime we can halt it, that's a thumbs up. I want to thank you all for your time. If you have any questions, please, I'd love to take some.